Hello and welcome to this lesson. So in this lesson I'm going to cover all of lesson 3, which covers the notes on the first string E. So we are going to learn how to read on the notation this note E on the first string, also first fret on the first string F, and also G, which is third fret. So we have E, which is open, F, which is first fret, and G, which is third fret. So I'd like for you to go ahead and look at the top of your page. This is 22 if you're looking in the book. And if you look at the top of the page, it says lesson 3, and then below that it says natural notes on the first string, and then it has E, F, and G. It has the staff, and it shows E, and it's the top space. F, which is the top line, and then G, which rests on top of the staff. And then we have Roman numerals to let us know that F is first fret and G is third fret. So below that you'll see also a diagram similar to the ones with the chords that just have a dot of where you can put your finger. Alright? So I'd like to continue forward. We can start looking at exercise 6, and I think before we do that, let's go ahead and look at these two new chords, the D minor and the G7. So for D minor, you just want to check and notice that the 5th and 6th strings have an X above it, so you're going to do your best to avoid playing those strings. I personally, because I strum mostly using my index finger up and down, I would just rest my thumb on the 5th string, and that way it's very easy for me to avoid playing those strings. So again, I put my thumb on the 5th string and I'll strum up and down with my index finger, my I finger. So I'm going to need to make a video soon on just some different kinds of strumming, but for now I'll just notice that I'm not moving my hand up and down. I try and do just about all the motion from the knuckle joint here. Alright? So you may have noticed also when I played D minor that for the 2nd string 3rd fret, I used my pinky instead of my 3rd finger. Either is fine. Sometimes we have to use our 3rd finger, but for me, I like to use my 4th finger instead for the 2nd string 3rd fret. It's up to you. I just wanted to throw that out there. Maybe now it won't be as easy, but as you keep working on your drills and get your pinky stronger and it's easier to balance, you may find that it's easier. The reason why I like it is it fits more comfortably. I don't have to stretch my fingers or do anything weird. So if I have the option, I always use my pinky. So let me just review this chord real quick. And I'll use the fingerings in the book, so I'll use my 3rd finger. So we're going to take finger 2, and we're going to put it on the 3rd string 2nd fret. So this note. We'll take finger 3 and put it on the 2nd string 3rd fret. And finger 1 we'll put on the 1st string 1st fret. So we get this chord. D minor. So also what can help, because it can be a weird chord to put your fingers around. I just want to give some advice. You'll notice the way my hand is approaching here. I've brought my wrists in this way a little bit so that I feel like I'm putting more focus on my 3rd finger and letting my index finger be the one that will open or stretch out a little bit, as opposed to if I was focused more here and then the fingers would have to stretch out this way. So here I put more focus on my 3rd finger and let my index finger open up a little bit or point out in this direction. So it makes this chord a little bit easier. You still want to do your best to keep your fingers as curved as possible and make sure that plenty of the guitar's neck is in your hand so you're not coming at it like this. So you see the difference. What it is, I brought my thumb up more behind the neck. Okay, and for G7, this one may be a stretch for you. We're going to let's start from the 6th string and work our way to the 1st. So we'll take finger 3 and we're going to put it on 6th string 3rd fret, finger 2 on the 5th string 2nd fret, then we'll have open 4th, 3rd, and 2nd, and then finger 1 on the 1st string. So here you're going to have a lot of curve on this finger. See how curved that is? A lot of curve. This way I can still have plenty of guitar in my hand, which helps. The reason why it's good to have it curved is so we can have our hand closer this way, and our fingers for the fingers 2 and 3 can be more curved. And the reason why that's important, if they're not as curved and they're more stretched out, you run the risk of your fingerprint part of the finger muting a string. So that's why it's important to have a lot of guitar neck in your hand for this G7 chord, and that's what it sounds like. Alright, so we have D minor and G7. Alright. Okay, now that we've covered that, let's go ahead and get into exercise 6. So what I want to do first is let's focus on the notation. And I'm just going to walk us through this. Let's go note by note for a bit, and perhaps as we move through the lesson, I won't do it as much. I don't want to be tedious. We'll get a feel for it, okay? So starting this out, it's always important to look and see what the meter is. So we have 4/4, so that's going to be 4 quarter notes per measure. So we're going to be counting to 4 is the important thing to take away from that right now. And the quarter note will get our beat. So we start off with 2 half notes, so we'll play on 1 and 3. And the first note we have, if you look up at the top, it's our open E because it's the top space, followed by F because it's on the line right above that, or the top line. Then for measure 2 we have a half note on G. Remember, if you look up, G's the 3rd fret. We know it's G because it's on top of the staff. Alright? Then measure 3, we have quarter notes. So that's going to happen every time we count, or every time there's a beat, or if you're tapping your foot or playing along with the metronome. So it'll happen every time there's a count or a beat. So we have E, which is open, followed by F, another E, another F, and then an E. And the E, is getting into the following measure, is a whole note because it's empty and no stems attached. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Then just continuing through this, we'll look and see that the next note is a space. And right now we have 2 notes that are on spaces. We have E and G. Well, we just played in E, and we can see this note is higher. It's also on top of the staff, so that's how we know it's going to be G. So 3rd fret, and it's a half note, 1, 2, and then we have 2 quarter notes, and they're on the top line. It's F, 1st fret, and the following measure we have a whole note E. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, wrapping things up, 2nd to last measure, we have an E that's a dotted half note. So remember, dotted half note, 3 beats, 1, 2, 3. Then we have G on 4, and then end the piece, or this exercise, with the whole note on E. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so now that we've covered this, I'm going to count to 4 and play through the exercise. So here's exercise 6, the notation. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so remember, YouTube, you can rewind. That's why I'm not going to repeat these. Also, there's a function where you can slow things down, so if you need it to be slower, you can do it to 75% speed or half. Okay, so the next thing I want to cover are the chords for this. So you can play the chords along with me, or you can play the notes along with my chords to the exercise. So let's look at what we have. So for measure 1, we have 2 half-note chords. We have C on 1 and 2, and then D minor on 3, and it rings over into 4, and then G is a whole note for the next measure. Then we have 2 more half-note chords, A minor, 1, 2, and then E major, 3, 4, and then A minor, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we have C is a half note, 1, 2, and D minor, 3, 4, and a whole note of E, 1, 2, 3, 4. Now we have 2 more half note chords, A minor, 1, 2, and then G, 3, 4, and C major for our last chord, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it may help just to maybe do some thinking about how these chords change and what our fingers are doing. In one of the lessons before, I talked about working one finger at a time, or if we can see some similarities. So let's talk about that real quick. So for C major to D minor, one thing that happens is fingers 1 and 2 are going to move down a string each, and then we can set whatever finger we do down on the 2nd string, 3rd fret. So bring fingers 1 and 2 down, and then either set 3 or 4 down for that D minor chord. For G, we're just going to have to lift up, but you can think of it from here. Finger 3 is going to move down a fret, and then fingers 1 and 2 are going to move up. Okay, remember A to E, they are the same chord shape, they just move up. And remember, try not to do this in between. Keep your fingers curved and aim toward the frets. Alright? I think it looks like we have A to G. Just pay attention to the where the fingers are going. You don't want them to go any further or any less than they need to go. Just straight to the point. Alright? And from G to C again, we have to completely lift up. But if you pay attention to where the fingers go, it helps. Alright, I'm going to play through this once. I'm not going to do any fancy strumming. I'm just going to treat them either as a half note or a whole note, depending on how it is. And I discussed it in the piece. So feel free to either play the chords along with me, or you can match the notes. Play the notes, the notation, E, F, and G, whatever it tells you, and whatever kind of rhythm along to my chords. So let's do this. I'll count to 4, and we'll play it together. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, remember, you can slow it down or rewind and play through that along with me as much as you like. Let's continue on to the next exercises. So here we have exercise 7. So let's pay attention to the meter. We're in 3/4, so we're going to be counting to 3 this time. I'm just going to go ahead and play through it. I think if you need to, just have the book opened up, or print it off if you're looking from the PDF. So if you need to, you can look at the top of page 22, and you can write in the notes if you need to. So quickly, the way you can do that and know the difference between what is a string and what is a fret is if you're writing the string down, circle that number. So you'll know that's common in guitar notation to have the string as a number with a circle around it, and then you can just put the number above or below that for the fret. going to count to 3. Let's play through exercise 7. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Alright? And also for counting, if you need to, write in the beats below. And what I've done with students is to, if it helps, underline the beat that the notes fall under. So for measure 1, you'd write 1, 2, 3. Under 1, I would underline that, and also under 3, because we have a half note that's going to ring for beats 1 and 2, and then a quarter note on beat 3. So we'll be playing on beats 1 and 3. Alright, as far as chords go, these are all going to be dotted half note length chords, meaning 3 counts long, or 3 beats. I'm just going to go ahead and play through it, and join me if you can. If you're really struggling for chords for now, try and play every other measure. So you can play measures 1, 3, 5, and so on, until you can put it all together, or slow the video down. So here are the chords for exercise 7. I'll count to 3 and we'll begin. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Alright, moving forward into exercise 8. So here's something we haven't done much of, is counting in 2. So we're going to count to 2 only. 1, 2, 1, 2, instead of to 3 or to 4. It's still the same notes as before, E, F, or G, and we're starting on G, 1st string, 3rd fret. I'm going to count to 2 twice. 1, 2, 1, 2, and then we'll begin. And that's just to give you enough time to get, the feeling of the rhythm and the speed, or what we call the speed is tempo in music. Here we go. Exercise 8. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Cool. Alright, let's look at the chords now. So for C, we're actually going to have that for measures 1 and 2. 1, 2, 1, 2. Then we have G7 for measures 3 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then after that, each chord is 1 measure long, or 2 counts, 2 beats. D minor, 1, 2, A minor, 1, 2, G major, 1, 2, and C major, 1, 2. Let's try the chords out. Again, I'll count to 2 times, and then we'll play through this exercise with the chords. And again, play the notation along to the chords as well. It can be fun to have some harmony to your melody. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. All right, moving on, we're going to exercise 9 now. We're in 4/4, and we have a dotted half note followed by a quarter note, so it's going to be 1, 2, 3. We're going to play on 1, and then our quarter note will be on 4. So measure 1 and 2, because they're identical. 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so we're back to 4/4. I'm going to play the melody. Please join me. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We had a lot of that rhythm, didn't we? A lot of dotted half note followed by quarter. All right, let's look at the chords. So we have measure 1 is a whole note of A minor. Then we have an E minor. So here what we can do is keep this finger down and bring finger 1 up to the 2nd fret of the 5th string, lift up finger 3. So here's A minor, lift up. If it helps, think of it that way. So A minor for measure 1, E minor for measure 2. Then we have D minor as a half note for measure 3, 1, 2, and then G7 on 3 and 4. I kept finger 1 down. Anything like this that you can do will help. So I keep finger 1 down. And you may have to practice it, but it's worthwhile. All right, for the next measure, we have C major. For actually the next two, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. The same. We have G7 for the next two, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we'll end on C major. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right. Let's play through it with the notation first and then the chords. So, no, we already did the notation. Sorry, it's early for me. All right, let's play the chords. We already did notation. Here we go. I'll count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, there we go. So we've wrapped up a good 2/3 of this lesson. Oh, okay, let's turn the page. So these last two exercises that I'm going to talk about, you know what? Maybe we can get into the 2nd string some too. I'll make that a 2nd video. Let's keep this video just for the notes of the 1st string. So, all right, exercise 10. We have E, F, and G, but sharps and flats have been introduced and the natural sign. So it may help if you need to look at maybe the previous page, page 23 first, and see what it looks like. So F sharp and G flat, they're both 2nd fret. So look and you'll see what they look like. The sharp sign, it looks like the hashtag or a number sign, and the flat sign looks like a B that's kind of sagging or been pulled down. G sharp and A flat are going to be the 4th fret. So I just want to talk about kind of how this works. A sharp, when it's put in front of a note, it's going to make it 1 fret higher. So we've been learning that G is the 3rd fret. G, or you may also hear people say G natural. They're both the same thing. It's 3rd fret. G sharp is going to be 4th fret because the sharp brings it 1 fret higher. Flat does the opposite. So if G natural or G is 3rd fret, which it is, G flat is going to be 1 fret lower, so 2nd fret. The same with F. F sharp is going to be 2nd fret, and you're probably not going to see this much at all because normally they would write E, but F flat would be the same as your open E string. Okay? One more rule I'd like to go over before we get into exercise 10 is that whenever a note is given a sharp sign in front of it, it's going to be sharp for the rest of the measure unless they give you the natural sign or the natural symbol. So if you look at the text below the word exercise 10, you'll see on the second line, notice the symbol on beat 4 of measure 7, and you can look and see if the measure, but that's a natural sign. So the natural sign is there because sometimes the person who wrote the music will want you to go back to the natural note. So that way, that's a sign they'll give you to let you know, hey, go back to playing the natural note instead of staying sharp. And they had to do that because it gave us F sharp. So if we look at, let's go ahead and look at measure 7. That's the second to last measure of this exercise. We have F sharp, G, and then F sharp again because it hasn't told us otherwise and we're in the same measure. But then for the last note, it's F natural or first fret. So we have 2, second fret, third fret, second fret, and then back to F natural, first fret. Alright, so hopefully that made sense. I think my coffee's wearing out on me. So I'll go through a little bit of this, maybe the first 4 measures, and then I just want to play through it. So measure 1, we have G sharp, and then the rule, it's sharp until the measure's over unless they tell you otherwise. So the second G is also sharp. So we have G sharp, followed by open E, and then we have F sharp, second fret. So we have 4th fret, open, second fret. Next measure we have G sharp for a dotted half note, 3 beats. 1, 2, 3, and E on beat 4. Then we have F sharp in the next measure. The next F is also sharp. It hasn't told us otherwise. So we have F sharp, and then G sharp, and then open E. We'll do one more measure. We have F sharp, second fret, followed by G, or you might say G natural, so 3rd fret, followed by G sharp, and then open E. Alright, so if you need to, work through it. You'll also notice the fingers I'm using. I meant to talk about this at the beginning. I want you to make sure that if you're playing 1st fret, you're using finger 1, 2nd fret, finger 2, 3rd fret, finger 3, 4th fret, finger 4. Alright, so be wary of that. Stick with it. It'll be a little bit tricky at first. You know, the pinky is a little bit weaker, but it's an investment, and the better you get at it, it's going to transfer off into other things you learn. So it's not like, oh, you learned it and have to redo it. The better you get at using your pinky, just the better it's going to be obedient to you. Alright, so let's do exercise 10. We'll talk about the 2 chords in a moment. So, alright, I'm going to count to 4 because we're in 4/4. Follow along with me, please. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good. All right, let's look at the chords. Sorry, I got a little bit of water in my ear from taking a shower earlier, and it's making a weird noise in my head when I talk. I know. Information you needed. Let's look at B7. So here we're going to avoid the 6th string. I want you to take finger 2, put it on the 5th string 2nd fret, finger 1, 4th string 1st fret, finger 3, 3rd string 2nd fret, and finger 4, 1st string 2nd fret. Sounds like this. So you need to have a lot of guitar neck in your hand for this chord because you want to keep all the fingers curved so we can hear each note. It's a pretty cool sounding chord. This version of it really makes me think of blues music. All right, so while we're at it, let's look at the next chord. We have D major. So just like D minor, we're avoiding strings 5 and 6. So when you strum it, you put your thumb on the 5th string if you like and strum down with your finger. Finger 1, 3rd string, 2nd fret. Finger 3, 2nd string, 3rd fret. And finger 2 on 1st string, 2nd fret. That's our D major chord. It's another pretty chord. Alright, so now let's back up a little bit to exercise 10. And I'm going to play through the chords. Let's look at how it works first, just so we don't get too surprised. We have E major for measures 1 and 2. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. B7 for measures 3 and half of measure 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Then change 3, 4. Then the next measure E. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another measure E. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then B7. 2, 3, 4, and 1. And back on E. So one thing you may notice, and if you can work on it, I think it will help, is what we do with our fingers. So finger 2, it stays on the 5th string 2nd fret for both chords. So we can leave that down. Then what's going to happen is finger 3 moves down a fret, or string, moves down a string, and finger 1 moves up a string, and then we'll put our pinky down. So that can kind of help if you can think about what these two guys are doing, fingers 1 and 3, and then put your pinky down. You'll see I actually don't have to do a lot of movement between these two chords when I practice it this way. It may be a bit tricky at first, and you'll notice I move my hand out just a little bit so that they point a little bit more toward me for the B7, and then the E major, I keep more of just a parallel, my knuckles being parallel to the fretboard kind of approach. So E major and B7. Alright, let's play the chords to exercise 10, and if you like, play the notes along as well. You know, practice both. Remember, if you are doing the notes, to use the right fingers. So, back to the chords. Exercise 10 with the chords. Here we go, counting to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, and E. 2, 3, 4. Awesome. Let's now get into exercise 11, and I'm going to just go ahead and play through this. I will let you know that for this exercise, it's not nearly as many sharps as we had for exercise 10. In fact, I believe the only sharp we deal with is F sharp. So there is an F in here that's natural. On the second line, let's see what measure. Measure 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Measure 15 has an F natural, so be wary of that. You can see the fingering, it matches the frets, but just wanted to point that out. So we're back in 2-4. I'm going to count to 2 twice, and then get into this. Play through all of it, all 3 lines. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, things up for this video, let's go through the chords real quick and then play through it. So we have E minor for measures 1 and 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, then A minor. So here you can keep finger 2 down as you switch between the two. So we have A minor for measures 3 and 4, 1, 2, 3, sorry, 1, 2, 1, 2. Then E minor for the next two, 1, 2, 1, 2. Then C major, finger 2 can stay down, 1, 2, and then switching to D, 1, 2. Then E minor for measure 9 on the next line, the next measure 10, D. Then E for a whole measure, A minor for the next measure, E minor for the next measure, then D major, G for the next measure, C for the next measure, then E minor for the next two measures, 1, 2, 1, 2, then A minor for the next two measures. We're on the last line, measures 19 and 20, so A minor, then the next measure E minor, C major for the next measure, A minor, and E for the final one. E major this time, not minor. Alright, let's do this. I'm going to count to 2 twice, and we're going to play through the chords. Here we go. Exercise 11. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. Uh-oh. I played it E minor instead of E major. I got again did things wrong. So I'm going to do that again, and I'm sorry. Sorry about that. Did I mention it's early for me? Let's do this one more time. Sorry, I'm not going to reshoot this whole video for that. Here we go. I'm going to play through it one more time with the correct E at the end so you won't have that clash, and I apologize. Here we go. Exercise 11. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. There we go. All right. That is it for this lesson. I hope it was helpful. I'll be shooting the next one soon. So, all right, that's it. I'll see you later. Goodbye.